All right.
And action!
All right.
All right.
all right.
You know, I was a fill-in for McConaughey.
Were you?
Stand-in.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, for years.
Huh.
And, you know, I one time I saw him jogging on the beach, and I was like, McConaughey, what are you doing out here on the beach? So I'm looking for napkins. And I don't know what he was talking about. But
I wondered who I got that job, who had that job before I did.
oh yeah, it was me. You know, it was me. All right.
You know.
All right.
So here we are. We're at the Swinetime Podcast Company today.
Man, you have a big complex here.
Yeah.
I'm really impressed with all. First of all, a high-rise building. That's your entire company is within that building. You have studios. You have sound booths. You have
Slot machines.
Everything.
Yeah, we have
It's really amazing.
a buffet downstairs.
Yeah, we're going through it later. I'm just totally impressed.
Yeah, we're here in Reno, Nevada.
Yeah, this is where you have your headquarters, and I'm surprised you would pick Reno because of course, it is the biggest little city in the world.
Yeah, but
so maybe that's a good place
this
for
weekend it's the headquarters.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
It's off the grid.
it is off the grid. Now, I've been living off the grid for years. Did you know that?
No.
Oh yeah, I won't. I refuse to use electricity. I don't even know how we're recording this.
I'm off the griddles. I don't have any more pancakes.
Yeah, that's why we need the napkin.
Yeah, the napkins.
Yeah.
So we're So what's that? We're here. I'm with the one and only Frazer Smith, my good buddy.
Where is he around here
Yeah,
somewhere?
he's here. He's.
Well, it's good to see you, buddy.
You too,
Yeah.
Frazer. Thanks for taking some time out your day to.
Well, I'm just glad that you agreed to do my podcast.
Yeah, true.
That's very nice of you.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a couple questions. How'd you get started in comedy?
Well, you know what, Fraser's awesome. He turned the interview. You know what, Fraser? I don't know if you remember this comedian, but he used to do. Actually, I think the first show I ever saw you might have been on. It was at the Ice House.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. And I'm
yeah,
at
out in
this,
Pasadena, famous club.
Yeah, and I was at a bar in Beverly Hills. I was like 22, and there was a nightclub or something. And I met this guy named David Banks. Do you remember him?
David Banks. The name is familiar. Yeah.
So he did comedy for a while. Since that time, he's been in like 100 commercials. But he and I met at the nightclub. We just were talking. He and I were talking to these two girls.
Right.
And he's like, I like that one. I said, that's cool. I like them both. And
Look at you.
And then I gave everybody, had a pack of gum. I gave everybody a piece of gum. And he goes, you must not be from LA. You share. And then everybody was laughing. I said, yeah, I'm from Ohio. And then he had a ticket to go see him, or he was doing a bringer at the Ice House. Basically, he gave me a flyer to his show, and then I went to watch the Ice House show, and then I was like, asked him, how'd you do this? And then he pointed me to TK, and that's how he got started. So.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I think I remember David. Yeah.
Yeah. So so he did it for a while, but he ended up getting involved in commercials and stuff. So. I actually saw him on a commercial yesterday during the UFC fight. So.
I think you mentioned that. Yeah, that your friend was on a commercial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. And then I would say that the first good joke I ever had, Frazer wrote.
I wrote a joke for you?
Yeah, it was.
What was the joke?
The joke was I was talking about how I was, I was using everything specific. I'm 22 and I met this lady. She's like 40 and she's got a kid. And you said, no, here's the joke. You're 20, she's 40, she's got a son, he's 21, it's cool, he buys you beer. And I still use that joke sometimes, Frazer.
That is a good joke.
And that was the first good joke I had, because before then it was just long ramblings of nothing. You know it? You know how comics are.
Well, I think that's true for anybody, right, in comedy. You learn that brevity, they say levity is brevity.
Yeah.
Brevity is a soul of wit.
Okay. Darren corrected me.
Sorry.
But he's right. It is.
Darren, we should put a camera on you as your.
The shorter the better, I think, is when it comes to jokes.
Yeah.
Because everyone's attention span, is real short nowadays. And everything, all the electronics and everything is made it that way. Everything's abbreviated and shortened. So people don't really have a big attention span. That's why TikTok's so big.
Yeah.
So you have to have your jokes really tight. Really, no fat on the jokes.
No fat, every word. Now, what is it like for you? I mean, being that you have been through, you've seen so many legendary comics. I mean, we were talking, you met Rodney and all this, and like, how is the this go to the technology. You know, you mentioned how their attention span. So before that, what kind of was like the vibe, and were you able to connect more with the crowds, or?
Well, you know, I think really comedy's always kind of the same.
Oh, it is.
You know,
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Live comedy.
Yeah.
I think the difference now is sometimes, you know, like during the pandemic, they had Zoom comedy
Mhm.
and stuff, and I couldn't really get into that
Yeah.
because you don't have that personal feeling. The personal feeling of a live show is really what makes comedy fun.
Yeah.
You know, you get that immediate response from a crowd. It's something that, you know, actors and actresses, for example, can't get with their medium because you don't see your results till much later. So it's immediate when you're doing stand-up.
Yeah.
And like a band, you know, you're immediately connecting with the crowd. But unlike a band, you're all by yourself.
Right.
So you have your show, the stuff that you've prepared, and then you also ad-lib some stuff with the crowd, and it makes it a real live experience.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that you know, I sure do wish I could see some of been at like the Comedy Store for some of the other times, because you know, when you mentioned technology, because when I first started doing comedy, cell phones were just kind of out, but it was still rude to text during something, right? I mean, now
Not
it's
anymore.
like, dude, you'd be
Darren's texting right now during our interview.
I know, man. You could be.
How rude.
I'm going live, you guys. I'm going live. People are
okay,
watching it
okay.
live.
Oh, okay, cool.
All right.
Wave at the people.
Hey, what's up? Hey. All right, so
Frazer Smith and Brian Swinehart Swinetime.
is that who it is? Okay. So anyway, what were you saying?
Well, no, I was just saying like how, you know, I think that, you know, when I started, I feel like, you know, the attention span, you know, people, it's just kind of frustrating sometimes, like, you know, people will be on their phones during the, you know, it's just like,
Yeah.
I think that I would have liked to seen the business before, and, you know, like.
Well, you know, some things never change. I mean, you know, a stand-up set is a stand-up set, really. You know, I think sometimes the material obviously changes with time.
Yeah.
Excuse me, and of course I do topical material, so that
Right.
changes all the time.
Every day, right?
Yeah, but you know, for example, now we have to deal with a lot of the cancel culture
Yeah.
stuff, and you have to be a little more careful with your editing. That's something that's different. I was watching some old clips. I love the old clips on YouTube of like Don Rickles,
Right.
and Rodney. You mentioned
Oh, I
Rodney
love-
and all the old guys.
Him on Johnny was like those two together.
Unbelievable on Johnny Carson.
Yeah.
And you look at the clips, and you know, Rodney, who was an idol of mine and someone who I work with actually a little bit. Rodney was so great on Carson. He'd tell like, you know, 100 jokes in 5 minutes, and they were almost all great. But you know, he'd have a little chunk in there about how fat his wife was or something, or you know, and you can't really do that anymore. There's
really
certain
can't.
topics you just can't do. You know.
And wonder what has caused that. Why has people lost their humor?
Well, you know, it's the you know, the social media really has gotten out these keyboard warriors
Yeah.
who are out there, and they I think a lot of them like to just attack people. I feel that some of it is valid. Some of it is valid. I mean, you know, making fun of people's inadequacies or you know, body things. Okay, you know, I like weight shaming, stuff like that. I can see where that would be something you might want to not do.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm not against all of it, but some of it I think is pretty restrictive.
Yeah.
I wrote a joke recently, and yeah, I go, Beyonce. I go, they made Beyonce take the word spaz out of her new song because it was politically incorrect. I go, well, that's just retarded. Now that, you know, but that's a goof of it. It's a goof. You're not really making fun of people.
No,
you
you're
know?
not. So, Frazer, you've been a mentor to a lot of the comics. I mean, you know, in the LA, dude, everybody, you're famous. You know, everybody knows you. You've been famous before you even started. But even for someone like myself who came from a different place, I moved, and then I met you, and I started. And you always been that guy that has always treated, no matter what level the comics are, I feel like you treat us all the same. You know, do you see what I'm getting at there?
Well, yeah, I'm hoping to do that to confuse them so I can then steal their material.
Oh, okay.
That's my goal. You know, if I can get them thinking about that I'm a good guy, then I can go behind their back and steal their material and they're not going to know.
Oh, okay. They would be.
No, I don't know what that is. People ask me a lot about how I get along with people. I guess it's my mom was one of these rare people that got along with everybody.
Oh.
I don't know how she did it really. She would get along with everybody. And she wasn't in show business, but she probably should have been.
Right.
Excuse me. She just really got along with everybody. So I think I just took that from her.
Yeah, that's what. Hey, God bless her, man. I'm grateful for that.
Very special lady. And what it really taught me was, it's the old saying, you get more with honey. You really do if you're.
I remember that.
Well, I do too. I mean, believe it or not, I have that reputation, I guess, of being a nice guy, but I get edgy too.
Yeah.
We all do.
We all do.
And, I think, especially in our business, we have a tough business.
Mm-hmm.
It's one that, has a lot of ups and downs, a lot of rejection. And there's certain days where, you wouldn't want to be around me. I mean, I'm not really always that way.
Right.
But I think it's always something you have to work on. I try to work on being gracious to people and try to remember to be that way.
That's awesome. Now, as you're a mentor to a lot of the comics, when you were coming up, did you have any mentors, any guys that kind of like did what you did for me by pulling me, hey, try that, did you have guys?
Well, I was lucky enough to be able to work around some radio guys who had been, famous in the past, were on the radio stations that I was on, and Wolfman Jack was on a station that I worked on, and I got to know the Wolfman. He was legendary. I got to know, there's a guy named the Real Don Steele, and he was a legendary guy from radio. Huggy Boy was another guy. And you would meet these guys, and they would teach you the ropes, show you what was up, with that. And with stand-up, I got to work with Rodney. I also worked with a lot of comics who were coming up who became big stars. Sam Kinison, Dice, Jim Carrey, Gary Shandling, Louis Anderson, comics who became big, and I had known them when they weren't big. Mm-hmm. And so you got to kind of, as they got bigger and bigger, sort of learn from them and see how they handle it.
Yeah.
Wow,
that's awesome. And now with these people, like, was there comics coming up that you knew, okay, they're gonna be, what is it, the factor that gets somebody, super famous, and then there's, guys doing it that are still freaking hilarious but aren't famous, and then there's the whole, like, I guess with Sam Kinison you can see it, is it the character, he screams, he yells, he's hilarious, he's angry, and then Rodney had his liners so quick. So what is it that makes somebody really get it?
Well, I think no matter what your style is, you have to be willing to work at it, to get good at that particular style. And everyone's style is different. Sam's was that, very outrageous character that not everybody can or would want to be, but that fit him. I think that one of the big things is having your character fit you, because it's really an extension of who you are. And if you figure that out, and sometimes it takes people a long time to figure that out. It took Rodney a long time. Rodney was a comic that wasn't very successful. He was doing, the Ed Sullivan Show, and he would do TV, but he kind of was just in the middle and really not going anywhere. And he quit for a while. He was selling aluminum siding, which is what comics used to do back in the day when they were out of work. And for real.
Really? That was a gig, aluminum siding?
Well, because it was big back then. It was kind of they could talk, so they go door to door and try to talk people into it. And anyway, he came back because he had figured out a point of view, that no respect point of view. And it was a character, and he figured out, well, the public feels like they don't get any respect most of the time. So my character will resonate with them, and it did. And Sam figured out that he was going to be the guy that was kind of the outrageous, off the wall, bouncing around the wall, rock and roll guy.
Yeah.
And then Dice figured out that he was going to be Dice, that character that he has. Everybody that's successful, I think, figures what their best image is for them, and then you have to work towards keeping that sharp.
Okay.
You know, and then the other part's kind of random, really, Brian. You know, in terms of, we were talking about this the other night. It's really timing, because there are people that you see that are very talented and they don't make it. And you're like, well, what happened? Sometimes it is just a timing thing. They weren't at the right place at the right time. And you can't always calculate that. Sometimes you can and sort of figure out how to get there at the right time, but there's other times where you just have to, it's from God, you know. You just something that comes about. You can't really always predict how to get there.
Yeah.
Or why you can't. Some people, and other things, I think other things is, don't shoot yourself in the foot. A lot of people do that. Or they quit too early.
Yeah.
Quitting too early is another thing that will keep you from making it, obviously.
Right.
You know, and it's the old saying, winners never quit and quitters never win. It's kind of true.
You got to keep.
It is true. And it's a long haul business.
It's a long haul marathon, not a
It
sprint.
really is. It really is. My buddy ran into Sinatra. He was working in the Catskills back in the days of upstate New York, where they used to have entertainment. A lot of the comics of that era used to play up there. You know, the Rubber Chicken Circuit, and all the big stars played up there. And my buddy was a waiter at one of the big resorts, and Sinatra was playing there. And he went up to him and he said, "Hey, Mr. Sinatra, I want to get into show business." And Sinatra looked at him for like a minute, and he goes, "It's a long haul, kid." And it is.
And that's the number one guy.
Yeah, that's your top guy.
Yeah.
And he knew he had to go through a lot to get where he got. You know, and some people make it quicker. You and I were talking about this. Sometimes people make it quickly. You know, just, again, that's a bit of randomness. You know? Yeah. They just are at the right place at the right time, and they take off. I always think it's a little better if you do have to struggle a little bit, because you learn that side of things too, because eventually in life you're going to go through some of that. It's unavoidable.
And it's almost, even when people are doing great, they have these lulls in their career, right? Where there's plenty of comics that were, you know, a few years back, maybe really making the most, and now there might be, and it might come back again, but there is that, you know, because
there's an inevitable dip for everyone.
Yeah.
At some point, you're going to have some rocky, you know, water, and it just happens that way. You know, rocky water. What is that? Anyway, but you know, you do have those ups and downs, and I think it's natural, and it happens to almost everyone.
Now, with comedy, okay, so I mean, I'm really stuck on comedy, but you know, well, I guess it's our talk. But what about, like, is there any type of things that doing stand-up comedy has helped you as a person in your regular life?
Well, what it's done for me is it allows me to tag a lot of people's sentences.
That's true.
You know, people will have something that they're saying, and I'll be able to jump in there with a punchline.
Oh, dude, it's great.
And that's always helpful at a birthday party or a family reunion.
Yeah, because it makes people happy.
Yeah, I think, you know, basically it just gives you a certain sense of confidence in life, because you have to do everything yourself.
Yeah.
You're not a band. You're not a team.
Yeah.
You know, it's just you. And self-sufficiency, I guess, is what I'm talking about. You feel like you're pretty self-sufficient. Mm-hmm. You can go almost anywhere. We're used to traveling.
Yeah.
We're used to getting, you know, having new experiences, meeting new people. Not a lot of stuff really throws us, because we're self-sufficient.
Yeah.
You have to be.
Now, with your career, is there any times, like, you know, I mean, like, for instance, for me, I was like, man, I should have wrote harder back then, or this and that. You know, you got all these little, is there any things like that you ever think, or is there?
Oh,
like,
sure, yeah.
If you was going to go back and give your, like they say, give yourself advice when you were starting, kind of what would you have, you know, would it have been like, you know, what would you have kind of said, or?
Well, the things, that's a good question, and I think the answer for me would be, I would never have done Swinehart's podcast. That was one of my biggest mistakes in my career. That sent me reeling backwards, and I never really recovered. No, the things I learned basically were, I don't mean that, you have a good podcast. The things I guess I learned were about that were, if you get a chance when you're younger, take some lessons. I should have taken acting lessons a long time ago. I think I'm a pretty good actor,
You're great.
And I've been into a lot of stuff, but I should have taken acting lessons when I was in high school. I should have started then to really learn that craft.
Yeah.
Because I didn't. And so I was kind of remedial in that area for a long time. And then I started getting stuff. But I think that's one thing I would have done. I also would have taken a writing class, a script writing class, and really learned how to do that instead of kind of feeling my way along. And I really only now am starting to know how to really format things correctly. And now of course, you have final drafts and everything, but I'm just learning that area now. I would have done that earlier in life. And the other stuff I learned is really kind of behind the scenes stuff. And it's pretty much common sense. Just don't pick your arguments, pick your I had a lot of trouble in radio because I got very big, but then I would have beef with my bosses. And I get along with everyone except bosses for some reason.
Interesting.
And that's somebody that you really kind of want to get along with.
Right.
That's the other bit of advice I would give people. Don't fight with your boss.
Right.
Even if they're a dick.
Yeah.
Just learn how to deal with it. Learn how to deal with them. I tended to feel like I had to stick up for myself at every turn and, and go toe to toe with these guys. And that's a bad mistake because you really don't, I lost several huge jobs by just by being belligerent, by feeling like, hey man, don't tell me what to do. Well, wait a minute, they're my boss. They can tell me what to do. I guess the thing is, pick your battles and be strategic if you do have a beef, so that you don't set yourself in a bad position.
Now, would that be anger that kind of brewed you to do that? Was that like?
I think it's more of a thing of trying to stick up for yourself.
Okay.
You feel like I've got to say something to this person. They're trying to mess with me. And the mistake there is that if you lose it, you lose the battle. It's their football.
Right.
It's not yours.
Yeah, they can take it home with them.
I had the #1 show, and they were trying to tweak my show in these directions I didn't like, and I started to go, hey, no, man, you can't do that. And then there's a better way to do it, is what I'm trying to say. There's a more diplomatic way to do it. That's what I didn't really have at that. I was too young. I didn't have the diplomacy skills that I have now.
You hadn't been through it before, so that's the only way you had to probably deal with it.
Exactly. But it's common sense. It's politeness, really.
Yeah.
If you're polite, you can pretty much get your point across to anybody. And I wasn't like that. I would get right in their face and I'd be like, hey, motherfucker. I was one of those guys.
Wow, okay.
And that's it's odd because that's not my natural nature.
Yeah.
But it was when I was dealing with those people. Okay. And they were the worst people to do that to.
Because they're right back probably in your face.
And they're a lot bigger than you, Yeah. I mean, they're my boss,
Yeah.
They can do what they want.
Yeah.
I was really foolish, and I thought I was being, I didn't think I was being a tough guy. I thought I was sticking up for myself.
Yeah.
And you got to do that in life, too, but there's ways to do it.
Yeah, well, it's interesting you tap that because I'm different, not through that, but recently I've been feeling so much anger on, everything going on in the world. I mentioned it. I never had the anger amount I had since COVID, and I'm trying to work on it, but online I get pissed off at people, you know what I mean? And it's just like, and some of it is pointless and it's a distraction. But I'm having a hard time. I'm feeling better now that,
I like where you're at now. I think you've arrived at a middle ground.
Yeah.
And, it's easy for all of us to get angry during COVID. So many issues and so many sides to take. And, we all felt that. But, that's what I was saying about diplomacy. I think there's a way to do it. And I think the internet is it's a blessing and a curse, as we've talked about. The blessing is you reach so many more people. You can reach everyone around the world. It's an amazing tool that way for promotion and everything else. But there's also a tendency to get in all these little petty beefs with everybody that go nowhere.
You're right.
First of all, who is really affected by any of that except you and those people?
Mm-hmm.
The world isn't going to be affected by it.
Yeah.
And so you spend so much of your time with putting out all these little fires and fighting these little battles that I don't really think take you anywhere, and some kinds can take you down.
Yeah.
Because if let's say there's a club owner that has a political bent that goes a certain way, and you're saying all this other stuff, even if you feel it and believe it, you don't really need to say it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that towards you.
No,
a lot of people.
that is true.
It happened to a lot of
Yeah.
people, and you want to say your views. You want to say what your viewpoint is, but I think in business it's better to keep things close to your vest. And Johnny Carson used to say, and that's my idol, him and Rodney, and what Johnny would say is, you'll never know what my politics are. He said, because if I do a joke about a Republican, then I immediately do a joke about a Democrat. He goes, I keep it 50-50, and that way I don't lose half of my audience.
Mm-hmm.
And, not everybody wants to be that kind of comic.
Mm-hmm.
Some people want to be the polarizing comedy, the comedy that goes off the edge, that takes it there, and goes there. And that's fine if that's your style. But again, it goes back to your style. What is your style? Mm-hmm. If you're not that guy or woman, why are you going there? Mm. If you're not the embattled person, and I don't see you as that kind of person. You're a likable guy. You have great likability, and that's what's going to make you a star. And what you do with that is you just be yourself like you are on stage right now. Mm-hmm. Very likable. Even when you do something edgy, it comes across likable. But I would stay out of pockets, just if I were you, that are too polarizing.
Okay.
Because why?
Yeah. No, I don't want to lose
Now,
money.
that doesn't mean you can't do that in your personal life. You shouldn't back off your stances in your personal life if you're, have a viewpoint, absolutely, But when it comes to business, you want what you're trying to sell is likability and fun, and that's what people they need fun right now.
Yeah.
People have been beat up
we've
during
had a
this
tough
whole
time.
stretch of time,
Yeah.
and what they are looking for is a little escape from that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you offer that with your comedy, then you've done your job.
Yeah. Man, Frazer, you are a wealth of information, man. Like I said, I always appreciate how friendly you've always been to me and help kind of give me some guidance every time I see you at the clubs. And what is your, you're gonna keep going, aren't you, man?
Man.
I love it. I mean, that's how I look up to you, man, because it's like, dude, you are passionate about this. And how many people do you think you've made laugh in? I say in your lifetime, but let's say in your lifetime as radio and comedian.
I'd say 3.
3, okay.
Because that's a good round number.
Okay.
Well, it's not a round number. You know what? I really wouldn't know. I wouldn't know that.
Right?
I wouldn't know about that. But what I do know is that there's still a lot of things that I want to accomplish. I have been in the business a long time, but I just recently got a script to my friend George Lopez, and George, they like it over there at his company, and thank you. I'm praying on that one. I have several other projects, as everyone does in Hollywood, but since I was pretty big on the radio, I have a lot of contacts, and I'm able to get my stuff, thankfully, to some pretty big people.
Great.
So I have some big people that have my stuff right now. That's my goal, is to try to, produce something, and I still want to perform too. I still enjoy doing the stand-up with you and Darren this week here in Reno. We're having a blast. It's fun to get out there and do that. Darren and I have been writing a lot. He's been really helping me with the writing, and but I always think it's just about keeping as many plates in the air as you can,
mm-hmm.
And seeing which one hits.
That's awesome.
And even at my age, that's still what the game is. Keep moving, keep doing stuff, keep trying new stuff, keep looking for new angles and meeting new people.
Yeah.
And you never know where that break's going to come from.
Yeah, I mean, it's great because, and the thing is too, it's like we're in such a fun thing. it's like this is a job that you don't want to retire from.
No, you really don't.
You know?
If you start to think, what am I doing? Why am I,
Yeah.
you know, and I think what gets you thinking that is that it's also a tough business. There's so much rejection as opposed to any other business. So there's a feeling of like, I don't want to keep going through this, you
Yeah.
know, but then there's a feeling of, hey, wait a minute, I just met that guy and he's a
Right.
producer and we kind of hit it off. Maybe you'll like my script. You know, every day brings you a possibility.
Yeah. What is? I've got two final questions for you, Frazer. What is your kind of your daily routine? What's your kind of daily? You know, I think that would be interesting. I think that's interesting to hear of people's. You know, do you write at a certain time? Does it just come to you spontaneously? Like, what's your daily kind
Well,
of?
what I like to do, I get up and I order napkins. And I as many napkins as I possibly can delivered to my house. I basically I get up early. I like to get up early, and then I work out, you know, and I on the exercise bike and lift weights and stuff, and then I like to write at that time.
Okay.
Because I feel like I'm kind of clear-headed there, and then so I will watch the morning news and see if I can grab some topics.
Ah.
You know, and then I'll try to write a little bit, and then I try to, I like to pray.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good time to pray, and then I like to get my day figured out, what I'm going to do, you know, daily stuff. I like to set up meetings, if I can try to set up meetings for that, you know, that week.
Yeah.
I will send out emails and texts and stuff and try to get that going. And then if I have a session, a podcast, I have a couple of podcasts I do, I'll go do those. I'll have a writing session maybe with Darren,
Yeah. Cool.
you know, at the Joke House. We go to the Joke House. I will.
It's called the Smokehouse?
It's called the Smokehouse. We
Okay.
call it the Joke House. It's a
And-
famous restaurant in Burbank.
And Darren
Yeah.
sits down when he comes in. He orders napkins.
And immediately
Yeah.
we get napkins. But the
Now it's the Woke House.
Yeah, it's a woke house. But we basically work on material there. And then I just sort of, usually at night, I'll go out and do a set if I can somewhere.
Sweet. Yeah,
Yeah.
because you're up almost every single night of the week, right?
I am. I try to keep moving, you know, for the reason of just, you know, feeling like you're doing something, but also with my particular style, which is one-liners, you have to play a lot just to stay because the timing's the whole key on that.
Yeah.
Timing is really what it's about with acting. I mean, with stand-up. For me,
Yeah.
not for everybody else. Everybody else's style is different. But the one-liner style, you kind of have to go out almost every night. Even if you're doing the same jokes,
Right.
you just want to get that timing down.
Boom, boom, the rapidness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, man, Frazer, amazing. One final question.
Yeah.
What time is it?
You don't even have to ask that question. It's swine time.
Swine time!
Time. By the way, that's a great hook, man. That's what's going to make you famous. You know that, right?
I hope
You're
so,
going to be
man.
famous because of that swine time. I'm telling you, folks out there in podcast land, get to know him now because he's going to be too big to talk to us when he's swine time.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Frazer.
buddy.
You're the man.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
All right, kid.
Thank
Keep
you.
rolling.